Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our scenario is called Paper Chase. It was written by John Sullivan. This will be the second time I've run this one-shot, and I'll admit it's probably my favorite. Going back to an older tradition, I would like to start with a quote from Ernest Hemingway that seems apropos. All good books are alike, in that they are truer than if they had really happened. After you have finished reading one, you'll feel as if everything had happened to you, and afterwards it all belongs to you. The good, the bad, the ecstasy, the remorse and the sorrow, the people and the places, and how the weather was. That being said, let's begin our journey into the darkness. It was the cold, wet, gray time in Arkham, Massachusetts, that period at the end of winter where everything was being reborn from the gloom. The foggy woods all around were getting bright sparkles of green on the tips of their dead-looking branches, and small, bright wildflowers were pushing their way up through the last lingering drifts of unmelted snow. Despite these promises of spring, the gloom would probably remain another month or so, but the spring would come. Pat Courtney and Bill Hardcastle sat at their cramped desks on the second floor of the Regal building in Arkham. They hadn't had much work in the past 2 weeks and had decided to clean up some of their old case files. They were going over a case from last year with their medical consultant, Celia Crane, while Wilbur Shane sat at his desk near the door taking notes.
Hey, Wilbur, did you get the that 1287 form filed from last case? Is Wilbur here? Did he take a copy?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry. I was just out in the back trying to get some coffee. So what did you say again? The form you were looking for?
I just wanted to make sure you got it filed from last case. That's all.
No. Can you give me the name of the client?
Let's see. That was wouldn't that be Jennifer? Yeah, Jennifer Vicker.
Jennifer. Oh, yes, sorry. Yes, I got it right here.
Oh, perfect.
Sorry.
Not that I don't find this interesting, and you are paying me by the hour, but I assume you have me to do something other than just listen to your assistant file.
Oh, we've got plenty just coming up. We're bound to get a good case. It's been a while. It's been a couple weeks.
Wait, sorry, is this Jennifer?
There's a knock at your office.
Dormer?
Oh, Celia, can you get the door?
No. I'm not your secretary. Come on. Fine. I walk over the door, open it.
Message for Hardcastle and Courtney.
Right there.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Why, thank you for doing that, Bill.
All right, what do we got here? There's Hardcastle and Courtney. My name is Thomas Kimball. I'm not really sure how one goes about this, hiring an investigator, but it was suggested to me by my sister. Apparently, you solve mysteries. Well, I have a real poser. I would like, therefore, to invite you and your associates to tea this afternoon, where we can discuss the strange mystery that has me perplexed, the details of which I would rather discuss in person. No need to alert the police. I doubt they could find the shoes on their feet. Sincerely, Thomas Kimball, 202 East Derby Street, Arkham, Massachusetts, between Peabody and Dyer.
Well, I've always enjoyed a spot of tea anyway. So what do you think, Bill?
Sounds good to me. I mean, we need a case. It's been a little while.
Agreed there, definitely.
It's
Hey, you're
currently-
paying me by the hour. I'd love to accompany.
So should I start a file with this Thomas Kimball?
That's probably a good idea.
Okay.
It's probably about, let's say 1:30 in the afternoon. So you've actually just gotten back from lunch.
Okay.
Tea
So-
time is usually 4.
All right, so should probably head on over there pretty soon.
How far away is it?
Arkham's
here.
not a very large town. Probably, if you were to take a taxi, 10 minutes, not even that. If you were to, I don't know if you have your own car. You probably might have a company car that you guys share. 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the most.
Pat, is your car out of the shop?
Last time I checked, yeah, it's out of the shop. I don't know how well it's doing, because it had some significant repairs. We can try it.
Let's take the cab. How's that?
I think that's a good idea.
Hey, Wilbur, would you mind coming along?
No, sure. I will come. Should I bring? Yes, of course. Yes, I will come.
All right, and Celia, you are being paid by the hour, so if you
Oh,
would
yes.
not mind.
I think that sounds fantastic. Thank you, gentlemen.
Excellent.
All right. Derby Street is the northmost street on in Arkham. You can see on the map where the Kimball house is, between Dyer and Peabody. You pull up to it. It's an old Victorian place. This is a rather affluent neighborhood. I mean, it's not really rich, but it's upper middle class. You can see there's a nice car, probably a touring car, parked in the driveway. The flowers, the front yard is pretty well kept. The grass is clipped. The shrubs are trimmed. And you can see that there is a fire in the fire. I mean, there is a smoke coming out of the fireplace. It's a 2-story place.
Wonderful. Oh, stop right here, driver. This is it.
Sure. Thanks.
Here you go. Yeah, keep the change.
Thanks, mister.
All righty.
So anyone on the streets?
People up and down, somebody walking their dog. It's a little chilly this time of year, but not uncomfortably. So you guys all have suits, so you're fairly warm.
Well, no time like the present.
It's a couple steps up to the porch. There doesn't seem to be a ringer, but there is a knocker on the door. You knock on the door. The door is answered by a fellow. He looks like he's maybe in his late 20s. He says, you're the detectives. Please come inside. My name is Thomas Kimball.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Why don't you come on in here, make yourself you can hang your coats up there, your hats. I've got the tea set up. Come all in here and have a seat. And he fusses about and makes you tea. He's very well dressed. Fairly good looking fellow. So how do we go about this? I don't really know what to do.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit of why you've contacted us in the first place? We got your notes. and would love to hear more.
Well, the problem is that some of the things in the house are missing. Some books. It's not my house directly, though I'll probably inherit it. See, my uncle Douglas hasn't been around for a while, and I've just been watching the place. Here, let me show you, if you don't mind following me.
This house, the books from this house or another house are we talking about?
No, this house, this place. Yeah. See, I'm here because my sister wants me to stay here because she doesn't want the place being empty. So that I, make sure that the yard's maintained. I don't do it myself, of course. I hire a kid to the yard. Well, let me take you to the library, and it's a really nice library, but it is cluttered with books. There are books stacked up. There are books everywhere. There are wall-to-wall bookcases. And he says, see, there's missing books. I'm pretty sure, I don't come in here that often because I don't really have any reason to, but I'm pretty sure there's missing books, and I don't know where they went.
Would you know the subject matter of these books?
How would I know? I don't read them, but you can see, and he sort of points to the bookcases. It's like, yeah, see, that book's missing, and that book's missing.
I'd like to kind of casually walk around and look at the titles on the spines of the bookshelves as well as I can, see if there's anything I can recognize.
Oh, yeah. You recognize a lot of it. There's a lot of pulp fiction. There's a lot of, authors. There's Twain, and there's Jules Verne, and
Anything of a more unusual or esoteric nature?
doesn't look like it. I mean, there's a few technical things on banking and how home finance, stuff like that, but for the most part, it's pretty much a collection of dime store pulp fiction stuff. I mean, some classics. I'm not sure that Mark Twain would be a classic yet, but it's definitely in there.
How would you say the state of the library? Is it well organized or chaotic?
Well, there's definitely books that are missing. Not a whole lot of them. Thomas says, well, I have a girl come in here occasionally and dust, a maid. But the last time I came in here, I'm pretty sure I didn't see gaps in the books.
And when was that last time? You were mentioning you were in here.
A week ago or so, I stepped in here for, just to decide. It's like I say, I'm just keeping the place ever since my uncle disappeared.
Besides yourself, who else has access to the insides of the house?
Oh, my sister.
Sister, okay. And you mentioned there is someone that cleans too?
Well, yeah. Well, she comes when I'm here.
Oh, okay. All right. So just your sister and yourself have a key.
Well, and of course my uncle has a key, but he's been gone for a while.
When you say he's been gone for a while, can you elaborate a little bit further? Like, what happened with your uncle?
Well, my uncle was kind of a strange bird. Not really a social fella. Not really into hobnobbing with the rich and famous. Which, if you haven't guessed already, we got money in our family. He lived here all by himself. Most of us live in Michigan now. My sister would occasionally, maybe twice a year, come down here to visit him and, just make sure that he was taking care of himself. But he also occasionally, would travel abroad. He'd just get up and left, never told anybody. It's not like communication's that easy nowadays. So the last time my sister came, she walked in the house and it was obvious that he wasn't here. Now, all of his things are here, but I mean, I assume so. There's clothes in the closets upstairs. But he just didn't show up, and we just figured, he was out hunting books or something. He was a big bookophile, obviously, he liked to read. And we just figured he was probably abroad or something. He'd eventually come back, but it's been a year.
Is there a study or a place that he went to do work? Maybe writing or study?
There's a desk and there's stuff in here.
Okay. May we take a look? I mean, maybe look around?
Sure. Yeah, that's what I'm hiring you for. I want you to see if you can figure out.
And what was it that you said your uncle does for a living?
Did you hear the part where I said we have money? Yeah, we don't work. He reads.
So you'll have to excuse me, but I mean, I understand that you said he enjoys his books, but I'm not sure how to say this delicately, but these books seem pretty pedestrian.
Oh,
is there another section that maybe has more?
I really wouldn't know. Honestly, I have no idea what's in here. You're welcome to look. It'll probably take you a day to go through all this shit, but.
I was just wondering, is there anything else you have noticed missing from the house in other parts of the house, or anything out of order?
No. There's not that much either. I mean, it's I've been living here now for almost 2 months.
And doors are kept locked, and there's no indication that other people has been inside the house.
Yeah, no, not that I know of. I mean, this is a good neighborhood. What have we got to worry here? Surely things like that don't happen up in this part of Arkham. But somebody's burgled me.
This sounds like an interesting case. We will need a retaining fee to start the case.
Oh, well, what are we talking?
Oh, Pat?
Well, I really think that it's up to you, Mr. Kimball, because this seems to be pretty extensive. So our associates and I will need to actually go through the whole house. And
well, what are we talking? $100? Realize
what do you
$100 is like half a year's salary for you.
Right.
I think $100 would probably. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay.
And as long as if you're here, if you need something to eat or drink, there's alcohol in the other room, and there's.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't mind a drink. Sounds lovely.
Sure. So anyways, I've got some things to work on, just some personal finance stuff. I will be upstairs in the room on the left. Just if you need something, yell or come up and knock. And
thank you.
Go for it. I'd like to see how you guys, if you can solve this.
Thank you very much.
All right, so he leaves you alone.
So my thought, Bill, is why don't we split up and kind of tackle some of these rooms together or separately, so that we can kind of cover more ground. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. Maybe definitely his bedroom, to see if maybe he was packing in a hurry or what. I'd like to look at this desk in the bookshelf down here myself.
Okay. I'd like to examine more of the bookshelf a little bit before going upstairs. So,
okay. Well, I want to emphasize that the place, there's a lot of books, and not everything is organized, and there's papers and there's all sorts of stuff. So it will literally take you probably the rest of the day just to find stuff in this place. Pat, do a spot hidden roll as you're looking at the bookcases.
Okay. One second, turn my light on here. I know I have a pretty high spot hidden. All right. That is 17. That would be a critical. I have a 70.
Very nice. So what you begin to piece together, the books are sort of organized. They're not alphabetical or anything like that, but authors are grouped together with their works are grouped together. So when you come across a missing book, just with your own knowledge of literature as it is, just from your own reading, you can somewhat guess which books are missing. And it might take you a couple of hours to sort of compile a list, but you're pretty sure that there are 2 books that are missing by Jules Verne, Master of the World and Mysterious Island. 1 book by Mark Twain is missing that contains number 44 and Mysterious Stranger. A book by Oscar Wilde is missing, The Picture of Dorian Gray. A book by Leo Tolstoy is missing, Anna Karenina. 2 books by Charles Dickens, Great Expectations and Tale of Two Cities, and 1 by H.G. Wells, The Time Machine.
So, one question I have for you. My background is in occult studies.
Mm-hmm.
Would that have any kind of bearing, and kind of as I'm kind of going through and putting this together, would I actually infer anything from any of these, kind of like putting like something together in terms of, as I'm kind of collecting, kind of trying to think about like, why is this particular collection?
Well, let's leave that to the game itself.
Okay.
If you can figure something out, then maybe you're figuring something out. All right, you go up to his room. Who is going up to the room?
I'm checking out his desk.
You're checking out his desk.
Yeah.
Somebody was going to go look in his room, though, wasn't that what they?
I will also go to the room.
Okay. His room is fairly Spartan. There's a bed, obviously hasn't been slept in for a while. You do find a picture of Douglas in the process of looking around his room.
Any nightstands, dressers?
Yeah, there are nightstands and dressers. There is a Bible on the nightstand. There is a glass that looks like it probably contained water. There are mineral deposits inside the glass, as if possibly the glass had been filled with water and that it had evaporated over the course of the last couple of months. So it had been there. You find he has a small collection of pipes and some tobacco, and it looks like he has a comfortable chair on this in the bedroom next to the window, and there are a couple of books sitting on the stand next to the chair, which turn out to be Hamlet by William Shakespeare and Victor Hugo's Les Miserables.
So I think I will just briefly flip through the Bible and these 2 books just to see if they're well read.
Okay. It does, in fact, look like they're well read. The edges of the pages are somewhat dog-eared. The pages open to certain passages, but there are no marks inside the books. There's no pencil. There's no indication of anything within the books.
I would like to have a quick look at the bed, just flip the mattress, just basically poke around the room a little bit.
Why don't you do a spot hidden for me?
That's a regular success.
you don't actually find anything. There's not that much in there. There are clothes in the closet. They're neatly organized. There are a number of sets of shoes. You do think that there's a set of shoes missing because they're laid out. But like the bookcases downstairs, there's a pair in the middle that are gone.
Would the pairs on either side give any indication what kind of boots are missing?
They're all the same. He's got 4 pairs of exactly the same black, formal, the kind of shoes that everybody wore at the time. All right, let's jump down to the desk.
Yeah, I'm mostly concerned about finding things he might have been working on recently, letters, correspondence, a journal, trying to see his mindset. Maybe he was planning a trip. Maybe he left, he came back and just grabbed stuff and left. Just trying to find out along those lines.
Okay. You start looking through his stuff, and the stuff in the desk is pretty well organized. It has all to do with his finances. It looks in part, when you look very early on, a couple of years ago, you find that it's probably in his handwriting that he's doing the finances, and then it seems to struggle a bit. And then all of a sudden the handwriting changes and it becomes very neat and very clean, and very well organized. You're pretty sure he hired somebody to do his books at that point. There's nothing unusual at all in his books, in the things that he invests in. They're all very mundane. They're safe. There's no risky business going on. It's all, putting his money into very safe things that are going to make returns. And he obviously hasn't worked for a long time, and he has quite a substantial amount of money. Do an idea roll.
Okay. Ooh, 9.
Do you have your witchcraft pad underneath?
I do not.
Rolls. What you find is that he does make a lot of purchases, but they're all books. And you honestly couldn't imagine somebody reading this many books. I mean, it's not overly ridiculous, but he would have had to have spent considerable amount of every single day reading to justify buying all these books. And as you look around the library, you can see that he's got the books. You can in fact find some of the books that he has purchased, but you find it very difficult to find any book in the library that hasn't been used.
And yet he's not opening this place to a book club or anything like that, reading club. This is very peculiar. I share this information with the crew.
I peer over Bill's shoulder and read the ledger and the list of books. Are there any books that I might recognize as someone who has dabbled a little bit in the occult after leaving her home, and or anything that I can recognize as definitely not being there?
Do a luck roll.
No.
Yeah, everything that you find seems to be with a strong bent on just fiction. Some of the fiction is very, I don't know what you'd say, standard fiction. It's not really like romance, but there are some cowboy and Indian sort of Western stuff in there. There's a lot of murder mystery stuff. And then, like I say, a lot of the classics that you were familiar with from school are there. He seemed to like Jules Verne a lot.
A lot of fantastical stories.
Yeah. Stuart, do a luck roll.
Bill Hardcastle. In effect. Oh, 13. Wow. Oh my God.
All right. As you are looking through his stuff, you finally manage to run across what looks like a small journal.
Oh, yes.
And it doesn't look like he was a meticulous writer in the journal. But this is sort of typically, with just a glance, 10 minutes of glancing at it, this is what you find as sort of typical entries.
I personally think the doctor was a quack, that he failed to take responsibility for his actions. Who could blame the fiend for his terrible revenge? So many deaths. I think the doctor should be ashamed of his irresponsibility. I don't think I will visit him again. It's funny how the priest, Adolf, is so possessed by evil thoughts and actions, while the young Satan is incapable of sin. I think there's a lesson to be learned. Baroness Karen Blixen is so stalwart. Her descriptions are so vivid. I am sure I know exactly what it would be like to be living in Africa. We would go on a safari together. I wonder what is involved in coffee production. The captain invited me to dinner aboard the Nautilus. He told me of the many splendors to be found under the sea. The food was amazing and plentiful. I look forward to spending a great deal of time beneath the sea. Thanks to you, Mr. Verne.
It sounds, well, I don't know if I'm there. So.
Well, where are you, Pat?
I was down in the library.
Okay.
But I think,
Yeah, I
Bill,
was reading aloud, as I mentioned this here as unusual and yet common.
So I come over to you, and I kind of what strikes me as being really interesting is that these seem to be like odes or like entries of his homages to the different authors. The Jules Verne, that's very interesting with the Nautilus and Captain Nemo and everything. And so it seems like each one of these entries has to do with one of these missing books.
Exactly. Almost as if he's interacting directly with them. Is something.
Yes.
Would my psychology background help me kind of identify any kind of breaks with reality or a common theme?
Sure, go ahead and roll.
Okay. I've got to figure out what a symbol is. I think that's a 0, right? I got a 9. I'll use one luck point and make that an extreme success.
Oh, you don't have to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, extreme.
I think even without the roll, Douglas tends to fantasize a little bit. He's obviously writing as if he was having dinner with Captain Nemo.
Yeah, he seems a little bit off his. He seems a little eccentric. I'd really like to see where he went. Yeah, I'm wondering if he wandered off somewhere. I mean, is he mentally stable?
Coming back from his room, I bring the books that I found there. Hey guys, I found some more books. Might this one be the missing books?
Those definitely are missing from the library, but there are a lot of other missing books.
Sorry. So what's this journal? Can I have a look?
Oh, certainly. Here. I'm curious if there is actually an outside break-in, or is he just wandering off himself with this stuff? Can I just go out and do a periphery check of the home to see if there's anything like broken in, anything like trampled bushes to windows and such?
Sure.
All right, so I'll go out and do such.
All right. So you head out the front door. And what are the rest of you going to do? Celia, what are you doing?
I'm going to use the powder room.
Okay. Wilbur, what are you doing?
Well, going through the notes, I kind of wonder if the books, if I can identify the books where these notes are coming from, or where he's imagining to take part, and see if these are the books missing.
Sure, do an intelligence roll.
That's a failure.
Okay. How bad did you fail?
Only by 4 points, so I got a 64 on a 60.
Okay. Well, let me give you. He identifies one person. He says Baroness Karen Blixen, and it occurs to you that she wrote Out of Africa. So you can identify that book pretty easily. And of course, the Nautilus with Captain Nemo. You're not exactly sure the reference of the doctor and the fiend who takes terrible revenge, or the priest Adolf, and the reference to Satan. That's kind of unusual.
So, guys, I think I know where a couple of these notes are from. You think we can see if these books are missing?
The 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is there.
Oh,
And Baroness Blixen's book is there as well.
can we? I want to pick up the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and start thumbing through it
Okay.
to see if there's anything in it.
There's nothing written, no marks made, but it has definitely been read and read and read. You can see the spine is getting a little worn.
Interesting. So I say to everybody else, one of the things that's interesting is one of the books, I guess, that's missing is the picture of the Dorian Gray. And I'm wondering, and I guess if anyone wants to come with me, I want to start searching the house a little bit to see if there's any interesting pictures, or just want to kind of go around. I'm assuming we're downstairs. The library is downstairs.
They're all downstairs again. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll join Pat.
All right. Bill, you've walked outside. You're walking around the outside of the house. Why don't you do a spot hidden? Well, wait, before you do the spot hidden, you can see that there are neighbors on both sides. The back of the house, on the other hand, there is a fairly small yard, and it butts right up against trees. There's a tree line. New England is filled with patches of forest. The city, especially Arkham, is surrounded by woods. And there are, I would say, numerous, obviously you could go anywhere you wanted. The trees are not that close together, but they do form a kind of canopy over everything that makes everything shady. And right now it's all, actually I should say right now, most of it is dry sticks. It's the end of winter. Like I said in the beginning, there's little sparkles of green as things are starting to come out. But you can see that, it's also fairly flat area.
Okay.
If you go a couple of miles north, it starts to go up the hills, but that's quite a ways from, Arkham proper. It's fairly flat where you are.
Okay.
You can't see more than 100 feet into the trees before, other trees get in the way, and it's just too much.
from the garden that that he had or has, or the garden's still there, of course. But are there like trails or paths going off anywhere?
Do a spot hidden.
28 and out of 60. So I do a.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely walkways going into the woods. That there's no fence or anything like that. There's this time in Arkham, well, even in modern times, a lot of these places don't have fences. It's just
Okay.
a gigantic lawn with. So, but yeah, I mean, there's paths that definitely could go off into the woods from there.
Well, my focus was initially more so like, does it look like anything's broken into from around the house, or like plants stepped and crushed on? Just trying
It
to.
doesn't look like it. Most of the plants are fairly short at the time. It's still, like I say, the end of winter. There's little wildflowers here and so forth poking up, little grape hyacinths and things like that. But there's not really any snow up against the house, and the grass is still kind of brownish.
Okay. So no busted doors or windows, nothing kind of.
No. But do one final spot hidden for me.
Okay. Oh no, not at all. No, 93. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, if you don't notice anything, there is a window going into the library, but you saw that from inside the library.
Yeah. Does that look secure? Like pretty?
It seems secure.
All right. Okay.
I mean, it's actually, from your perspective, you'd have to get a boost up because the house is already built 3 steps up.
Got it.
And there's a basement underneath it.
Yeah. Ooh, a basement underneath. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'll just head back and join the others. Yeah, this doesn't seem like it's producing much out here.
Okay. So Bill eventually comes back into the library where you guys are all looking through stuff and seeing what you can find.
Yeah, I found the perimeter of the house doesn't look like anything was broken into from the outside. There are a few trails that kind of go off into the woods, but nothing unusual. No unusual signs of breaking and entering from the outside. I'm guessing if someone took the stuff, it was either an inside job or it might have been him just gathering some of his items and leaving. Ideas?
Well, did he say that we could have some alcohol?
Oh yeah, it's really pretty good here.
Yeah. I think I need a drink, and I would also like to have a look in the kitchen to see just what kind of food is kept here, and it might give us an idea of how the house is being used currently.
All right.
And I'm going to continue on my path around the house and downstairs to like see if there's any like interesting pictures or looking at different ways to get in or out, or even searching for a way to get to the basement, something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm still with Pat, looking at the paintings and whatnot, looking around the house.
Well, Pat and Celia do spot hidden rolls.
That is was it 11? So yes, pass.
26 pass.
You find a family album, and there are about 6 photographs in it. It looks like it was probably purchased new, and you're guessing that the pictures, which are of a couple of people you don't recognize, and you notice Thomas, but a younger Thomas, maybe from a few years ago, almost a boy at that point, and you can assume that's his mother and father, which would be Douglas's brother. But other than a kind of a lack of photographs of family, it doesn't look like he was close or or sentimental about family. Is what you.
So I turn to Celia and I say, I'm getting a sense that this is not a very close family, and that maybe there's some secrets in this family.
Well, yeah, the sister hadn't been here in a year, right? So who knows how long he's really been gone. They definitely don't seem particularly concerned either.
No, I find that interesting as well.
Just to remind you that Thomas is upstairs. So.
We could always ask Tom himself.
We could, but before we do that, I'm curious to know just if there's any other ways in or out of this place. So you want to go see if we can find the way to the basement?
It's your coin.
These houses are kind of built, very similarly. It's very simple matter to find the door going down to the basement. It's under the stairs.
Okay.
There is a light, pull string light, which turns on. You go down there, you find a furnace, an oil burning furnace. You find boxes of old things, some old furniture, and there is, of course, a couple of steps going up to one of these kind of doors. But it's got chains around it. It's chained closed from the inside.
From the inside. So I just want to look around. How big is the basement? Is it small or is it fairly large?
Maybe 20 feet by 20 feet at the most. And it's dusty. There's cobwebs and stuff. It doesn't look like people come down here very often.
Okay.
There's
I just want to do...
There's things from your own experience that do seem to be missing. It doesn't look like he decorates for Christmas. There's no box of Christmas decorations, and there's no indication of any kind of relationship. Everything seems to be more or less the same style. There's no baby crib or anything like that. No femininity to anything that you find. No lace curtains, nothing like that.
So just by looking around, would I know, or can I tell that, not only is it a bachelor pad, but it's also a bachelor pad in which the bachelor doesn't particularly care about his house as anything other than a place to sleep and maybe house his books.
Correct.
Very, very minimal personal touches.
Right.
Okay.
And that is the only way out of the basement, aside from obviously the stairs.
Well, there's a front door and there's a kitchen door going outside. Yeah. So there's two doors, and then there's the basement doors.
Mm-hmm.
Did I notice any like basement windows, like those little windows that sometimes are?
Yeah, little itty bitty windows right at the foundation to let in some light.
Got it. It's not big enough to go through.
It's not a cellar; it's a basement. Yeah.
Got it.
So there's windows, which every house in Arkham has a basement.
The chained up door. There's a lock.
Yes.
Perfect.
It's a lock with a key.
Oh, with the key. Do we have the key?
Well, you could look for it, or maybe Thomas has it.
Yeah, let's ask Thomas. This is worthy of note here to check this out.
All right. So you go upstairs and you knock on Thomas's door, and you can just hear him get up from his desk or something, and he walks over, and he says, problem, you got it all solved? You know who took the books?
Not yet. We're still having a go at ascertaining what's going on here. We'd like to get downstairs. Do you have the key?
The key to the basement?
Yes.
Sure. Says it should be on this keychain. Not sure which one it is.
Oh, thank you.
So he just hands them to you.
Oh, perfect. All
Which
right.
is-
Well,
He says, can I ask, like, how long is this going to take you?
it's hard to say. It's just not looking at a couple things and coming up with an idea. We have to really understand what's going on here.
Well,
So,
I've got a dinner engagement that I need to be to. Can I trust to just leave you here in the house?
oh, certainly, yeah. We're just checking in on possible leads, but we need to build them up first.
All right. Well, when you leave, just don't lock the door. Just leave the keys in the parlor and leave the door unlocked. No, there's no crime in this area,
Certainly.
so I can get in. All right.
Thank you.
Or if you want to, you can lock the door and leave the keys in the mailbox.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
So looking at the keys, does it sort of correspond with the doors we've seen there?
Yeah, pretty
Oh.
much.
Okay.
Oh,
Did he leave the house already?
Well, he's getting ready to leave the
Okay.
house. Give him 15 minutes or so, and he's going to be leaving.
The room that he was in, was this room locked? Does it look like he's locking?
Oh, no.
Or no? Okay.
The door wasn't completely closed. It was, open.
I also have with me my lock picking set.
Okay.
I'm versed in that.
Yeah,
So-
I have my little detective bag myself. So
Is there another room up there near that room that I can just kind of wander around and look into?
There are 3 bedrooms and a toilet.
I've already checked out the restroom, so I think I would like to check out the closest bathroom, the closest room to me.
The 3rd bedroom. So there's Douglas's room. There's Thomas's room now. And when you were looking in Thomas's room, you could see that it looks like he moved in 2 months ago. And the other room is a spare room that has a mattress, but it doesn't have any sheets. It's clean, but it doesn't look like it's been used.
Okay.
It's just maintained by probably a maid.
I'll pop my head in the other two, or the other one that's left.
Well, that would be Douglas's room.
Oh, okay. And Wilbur already did that one, I think.
Yeah. If you also look around it, you don't find anything interesting.
Okay.
Just from what you guys told me about what you saw in the cellar and the state of Douglas's bedroom, I'm sort of getting the idea or the feeling that maybe the house wasn't really in use. At least from his bedroom, it didn't look like a bedroom where someone was living.
Hmm.
Did we check out the kitchen yet?
The kitchen is almost empty of use. Plates and stuff are all put away. There's almost nothing in the refrigerator.
So we've been on every room in the top on the second floor.
Yeah.
The first floor also.
Same thing. Yeah.
And so now we have just the locked door to the basement. I thought we went to the basement though.
No, you went to the basement. There's a locked door leading out of the basement to the outside.
Oh, okay. So the basement's been already.
I thought that you misunderstood.
Okay, I thought I would miss
That's
something
what I
when
thought
I
so too. Yeah.
walked away.
Yeah. Yeah. The basement is just about 20 by 20, and it's got a furnace and oil and
Okay.
old furniture and stuff. Now, there's probably an attic as well. It is
Oh, we might as well check out the attic.
Definitely.
It takes you all of 20 minutes to check out the attic. There's a ladder. It's about the same. It's just old stuff from the house, and nothing looks really that old. You're not sure how long the house has been in the family, but maybe 20 or 30 years at the most. And there's not that much accumulated stuff. pretty sure Doug lived here by himself, and there's probably broken furniture, because instead of throwing broken furniture away, you just stuck it up in the attic or the basement.
No bulk item pickups.
No.
Any books up there?
No.
I'm almost thinking of going down to the police station and just reviewing their reports of they were called in, correct? So it'd be good to see what their initial impression was. Granted, Thomas doesn't seem too keen on their efforts, but it might behoove us just to see what they found.
Were there any names in the ledger of booksellers that kept repeating themselves, or anything local?
Yeah, I'm sure there would be, but nothing stands out. It seems like he shopped as far away as Boston, and mail ordered books from publishing houses here and there around the country, wherever he could get whatever he wanted. There aren't any repeat books either. He didn't get multiple copies of the same thing. Some people are insane.
Do we have any idea if he was part of any clubs, social groups, anything like that? I mean, maybe some of his external contacts from the family might know where he might be, perhaps.
Does Thomas know, or has Thomas left?
Yes, by now he's probably left.
Okay.
I'll give you that. He's coming down the stairs. Says, all right, well, I'll be back in a few, maybe 3 hours.
Thomas, briefly, before you head out, was he at all involved in any outside groups or clubs, or did he have a circle of friends?
My uncle? No, not that I know of. He just liked to read books everywhere he was. He was reading a book. I don't think he never came to family functions. Well, maybe once he came to some family functions. I seem to recall years ago, but I think he brought books with him to read.
Did he get his books from the library or from a bookstore? Local, like a closed bookstore? Do you have any ideas?
How would I know? I have no idea where he got his stuff.
Do you know if he had any friends with whom he was lending his books or exchanging books or discussing his books?
I don't know. Maybe he kept a journal or something. We mentioned something in there, but otherwise. Oh, I'm actually from Michigan, so it's like I haven't really been here. This is the first time I've been here in 5 years or so. Maybe the neighbor saw something.
While taking care of the house, did he receive any mail?
Well, I mean, I haven't really gotten any mail for him. I get my mail here now. There wasn't like a stack of mail or anything. I think I take that back. I think my sister said that when she came, there was a stack of mail, but it wasn't a big stack. It was just bills and stuff like that.
So nothing personal.
Yeah, I think she's taking care of that stuff since he's not here.
He didn't have a car, did he?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he knew how to drive. Any other questions? I'm going to have to go.
Oh, certainly.
All right. I'll be back in 3 hours or so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So he.
I'd like to go look at the desk one more time just to see if there's any, start knocking on it and seeing if there's any kind of hollow spots or hidden spots or anything like that.
Would it be appropriate for us to have a look in Thomas's room as well?
Oh, I think, wasn't that already searched?
No.
Thomas's room wasn't searched. No, he was in there.
Oh, yes, definitely. That's right. Yeah, I'm thinking Douglas. That's a very good idea.
All right. So you're going through the desk. Why don't you do a spot hidden for me?
No.
Yeah, you don't find anything.
I'm gonna keep searching. I'm gonna keep searching through the library, through the books. I know it said it was gonna be like a few hours, but I'm gonna keep kind of digging through.
There's
that
a
little
lot.
bit.
There's a lot of stuff. All right. So, Bill, you go up to his room. You start looking through Thomas's room. Now, you wonder if Thomas might have a little bit of a drinking problem as well, because he's got some nice alcohol up there stashed in his room.
Did you say as well?
But other than that, he seems like a young man. He does have a social life. If there are notes, he's got notes talking about a girlfriend and possibly, being engaged to be married in a few, months, but everything just seems normal. But do a spot hidden.
That's 60. 23. That's hard.
Well, you could see that it does seem like Thomas will probably inherit the property and the contents of the house if they declare Douglas dead.
Interesting.
But there doesn't seem to be any indication from any of it that you find that they're in a rush to do that. In fact, you also don't really find any kind of evidence that they've ever informed the police of anything.
Oh, really?
Where wasn't that in the note?
It was insinuated, but it wasn't directly stipulated in the note. There was an insinuation in the original letter that summoned us here about the police they wouldn't be able to do a good job, but
Okay.
Wilbur, you're in the room. Wilbur's in the room with me, right?
Yep.
I point this out to Wilbur. Look at this here. This is pretty interesting here.
Well, I wonder why why they haven't contacted the police in any way. That seems kind of strange to me. Should we have a peek at his personal belongings as well?
I think so. This is getting a little suspicious now.
Well, he is our client. I thought usually we wouldn't. I don't know. But it seems appropriate to do that now.
I think so. I mean, it might, just putting two and two together, sometimes our clients may not know that they have a piece of a bigger picture. This could help them quite a bit.
All right. So while you're doing that, Cecilia, you haven't really found anything. There's no secret compartments or anything like that. Pat, you are moving books around and you are looking for, things that indicate you find a second journal. It's exactly the same make as the other. It's got the same cover on it. It's dated a little more recently when you start reading through it. But for the most part, you're still getting a lot of this nonsense about fantasies of things. But eventually you run across a passage that catches your eye, and it sort of invigorates you to read through and see if you can find more stuff. Why don't you do a 1d4 for me?
Okay. 3.
Okay. So for about 30 minutes, you're sitting looking through this journal, and you realize that it's not necessarily recent. There's recent entries in it, but it goes back at least 6 or 7 years, and at least it seems like these are some sort of special things that he's written down. Anyways, these are the ones that sort of stand out to you, that seem to stand out above all the other entries. You can read those out.
Read it.
Read those, okay?
Yep. I made a new friend today, or rather, I should say this evening. His name is Edward Kaplan. Apparently, he had been listening to me read aloud, as sometimes I do. He told me how much he enjoyed my narrations. Those who know me often express how antisocial I am, and yet, despite my nature, I like this guy and want to get to know him better. Who cares what he looks like? Eddie is back, and I'm surprised how much I missed him.
Notice
the topic,
the top two, or the
yeah. I'm sorry. So that was the last one was 5 years ago. This one's 3 years ago. Eddie is back, and I am surprised how much I missed him. The topic of marriage and relationships came up, and I asked him if he had ever been hitched. He laughed and gave me a big smile and said, "I guess I just ain't the marrying kind." 2 years ago. Convention is the problem. No one will ever accept our friendship as something normal. Sometimes I want to run away and not deal with these conflicts, and sometimes all I can think of is the smell of him. Last one-day entry before he vanished. Eddie has asked me on numerous occasions if I would like to be with him forever. There are things I would have to leave behind, but these are only material things. He promises me a world of amazing adventures. As my final entry, I would like to be brave and express my true and genuine love for Eddie. I think it's time we were together in his world. Interesting. Is anyone near me?
Yeah, Celia was looking through the desk.
So I go to Celia and I said, take a look at this. I suspect that maybe the family may not actually have approved of Mr. Kimball's kind of personal life. And there may be more to the story than we think there is.
Well, Thomas certainly doesn't seem too concerned that he's not broken up by any means. And while he may not have, I don't know, they seem to be hiding a few things as well. Can I do maybe another psychology or psychoanalysis check of just kind of my memories and our interactions with Thomas to see how he really feels about this, if he's broken up, if he's really concerned, if he just wants us to say his uncle is dead so that he can just kind of call it a day and close it.
Do a psychology roll.
I am going to use 18 luck points to make that a success.
Okay. Well, your impression of Thomas is that he's more annoyed than anything else, that something is missing from the house that shouldn't be. He doesn't seem particularly concerned about his uncle. He doesn't seem to be concerned about money. There doesn't seem to be anything dark or nefarious about him at all. Yeah, you don't read anything like that in him. You think that he just wants to know who's broken into his house and stolen books. And why.
So he suspects potentially that there's something else missing that he doesn't know about that's more valuable, or it just irks him that somebody's breaking and stealing?
I think, yeah, it's almost a matter of the rich thinking that, they've been violated. He doesn't really seem to have any personal interest in the whole thing. Barely mentioned his uncle's involvement in books except when you've asked the questions about his uncle. He doesn't seem to think that finding his uncle is any priority on this at all.
Is Wilbur and I done with the room? Are we coming downstairs? Or?
Yeah, you don't really find.
Okay. Well, I share with Celia and Pat our discoveries up there, where it looks like if Douglas is declared dead, that Thomas will stand to gain the estate here. And the details that we found.
And I'll go ahead and share about Douglas's secret lover and how the last entry seemed to be the one where he was making a declaration, or at least was going to make a declaration about his love for Eddie, whoever that is.
Yeah, Edward Kaplan. Interesting. I think it might behoove us to go to city records and look up where Edward Kaplan might be. I think if we find Edward Kaplan, we might find Douglas.
And that name's not familiar from the journal, is it?
No, except for that, those few entries, those 4 entries.
Okay.
But are we
I think
sure
you're onto
that
something,
this?
Bill.
Are we sure that this is not another character from his books? I mean, he did write some pretty strange stuff, fantasizing he took part in the other books. Could this be the same case?
From what Pat and Celia were mentioning, it seemed like he's been writing about Edward Kaplan for several years, for 5 years. So I'm not so certain. The other entries were more like, it didn't seem like it was going on for as long, whereas this seems like a relationship that's built up over time. It might be worth it. You might be right, but city records could pretty quickly show if there's an Edward Kaplan living in here.
Well, and I think also the fact of the matter is that the other entries were very clearly, specifically about the characters in the books. And I don't know, this doesn't seem to be the same. I'm in agreement with Bill. I think that we should go check this out.
I agree.
And looking at the 2 first entries, the one from 5 and 3 years ago, does it seem like he was out of contact with this person for 2 years? Because he started the 3-year entry writing about how much he missed him.
Yeah, it looks like Eddie must have gone away somewhere and then came back, but it doesn't say where.
Interesting.
Off to City Hall or the court records, or?
I think so.
We could try the neighbors. I mean,
As well, we are here.
Yeah, we're here before we go to City Hall, but I like that idea as well. At least, try they might know something.
You also won't be able to go to City Hall until tomorrow. It's about 7 p.m. at this point.
That's right. Okay. Well,
But
do we really want to go disturb the neighbors as well at this point? It's kind of late.
It's not that late. No, it's only 7.
Yeah, it's
early
after,
evening.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably after the dinner hours, so.
Perfect. Is there one neighbor house that looks like it has a better view into the gardens and area of this house than another?
I would say that the one on the left and the one on the right both would have fairly decent views.
Oh, okay.
Windows all over their houses, just like this one.
All right. Well, any preference?
Do we want to split up and have?
Let's split up and 2 of us go left, 2 of us go right.
Love it.
Okay. All right. I'll go with Bill.
All right.
Who goes left and who goes right?
We'll go Celia and I. Does right sound
Absolutely.
All right. Then the 2 of us will head over to the house on the right.
All right, Wilbur, you and I are going to the left.
All righty.
All right. You go to the house on the right. Of course, Victorian houses don't actually look like one another, but they're still kind of look like one another. You go up 3 steps onto the porch and you knock, and after a couple of seconds, an elderly gentleman answers the door. Yeah, can I do something for you?
Oh, hello there. We've been hired to investigate your neighbor who's recently gone missing, and we were hoping you might.
Our neighbor's missing.
Yeah, apparently, approximately, what is it, Celia? It's about a month ago. It was.
Yes, it's been quite a while, actually. You may have seen his nephew.
Oh, you're talking about Douglas next door.
Yeah. Would you know? Did he have many people come by, or did he go out frequently? Or?
Nah, I never saw anybody over there. I'd see him go for walks every once in a while. But geez, I haven't actually seen Douglas for a year.
Oh my!
I thought maybe he'd moved away, but now you're telling me his nephew's living there. I almost never saw him. You know, I get home, I eat, I don't. He wasn't very social.
Interesting. Yeah. So you've never seen people coming in or out. It was just basically him occasionally going.
I think I saw his sister every once in a while. Yeah.
Okay.
Penelope.
All right. The walks. Do you recall? Did he have a certain pattern that he would take, or is it just sort of random? Did you notice, perhaps?
You know, he just sort of seemed to wander. I'd see him go up and down the sidewalk every once in a while with a book in his hand, kind of walking and reading.
Sounds like our Douglas.
Is there anything that you remember at all unusual about a year ago from when, that you last saw him?
No, not really. I mean,
and you said not the particularly social guy. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that he'd say hi if I said hi, if we just happened to meet. But I never saw him in town. I never saw him doing stuff.
Does the name Edward Kaplan mean anything or ring a bell?
No. Yeah, no idea who that is.
All right, well, Celia, I think can't think of anything else. Yeah, we're just trying to get a general idea of what might have been happening here in the recent past.
Yeah, if I not really anything I can do. It's just I didn't interact with the guy very much.
If you think of anything, please here take our card and give us a ring.
Sure, Bill Hardcastle, and
yes.
Are you Mr. Courtney?
Oh no, this is Celia.
Okay, because I was going to say it says Mr. Courtney.
No, I'm just here. I'm just an assistant.
I thought maybe it was a typo. All right. Thank you very much. Yeah, if I know anything, I'll give you a call.
Thank you so much.
All right. Pat and Wilbur, you go to the house next door. Same thing. You knock on the door, and a woman. She looks like she's maybe in her 50s or so. She answers the door and she says, "Yeah, if you're a salesman, I'm not interested."
Oh, no, ma'am. We're not salesmen. Oh, we wanted to ask you a little bit about your neighbor next door, the Kimballs. Do you happen to know anything about
Douglas Kimball?
Yes.
Yeah, I think his nephew's there now. Yeah, Douglas, who was a strange bird. Always walking around with a book, reading. I used to sometimes, he was kind of crazy. I would sometimes see him coming back from the path into the woods, to the house like at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night if I happen to be up. I don't know what he's doing out in the middle of the forest, in the woods, in the middle of the night. But he's always got a goddamn book in his hands.
Okay, interesting.
Go figure.
Do you? So you saw him late at night then?
Occasionally, yeah, I get insomnia, and I sit up. I sometimes, you can see his house from my kitchen window, and yeah, I saw him just on more than one occasion.
Was there anything unusual by the way he looked, either going out to the woods or especially coming back from the
Well, I
woods?
couldn't see him really clearly because it was kind of dark just from the light on the back porch. But no, looked the same as he always looks. He always dressed in the same sort of drab-looking suit and carrying a book in his hand. It was always a different book, though.
Was he alone when he came back from the forest?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I don't think I've ever seen him with anybody.
So he never entertained guests at the house or anything like this?
No. I think the most that he ever did was go to the library. So,
Did you ever speak with him?
occasionally, yeah, I'd say good morning, Mr. Kimball, and he'd say good morning, Miss Odell. That's about all we ever said to one another.
So he's turned up apparently missing a few months ago. When's the last time you spoke with him?
Wow. It's been well over a year. I mean, I assumed from what Thomas, I've said a lot. I've said probably 10 times more things to Thomas over the past couple of months than I ever said to Douglas. I think he said that he thought that he was abroad.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say that he didn't entertain guests at the house, does this include Thomas? Was this the first time you saw him 2 months ago when he came to the house?
Yeah, I think I saw his sister though every once in a while, Penelope. Yeah.
Penelope.
So that's what I was going to ask you next. Have you interacted with Penelope?
Yeah. I mean, we talked, just chatting. She would come out maybe twice a year and just check on her check on Douglas, and make sure that he was eating okay and stuff like that. But I never heard her say complain or anything like that. She'd stay for a couple of days and then she'd go. She comes from Michigan, I think.
Yeah, I believe Thomas also said that he comes from Michigan as well. Do you know anything about the family?
The Kimball family?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've been here, I'd say, as long as I've been here, at least maybe 40 years or so. I wasn't born in this house, but we moved here when I was like maybe 12 years old. And there were Kimball's. Well, there was Douglas living there. I'm sure that he was in his 20s when I first really noticed him.
I was just wondering because we came across some information that there might be a friend of the family called Edward. Is this a name that is familiar to you?
Edward? No, I don't know any Eddie Edwards. What's the last name?
Chaplin?
Chaplin. Yeah, no. I don't have any idea who that is. I don't even know anybody with that last name.
Can I do a psychology check on her behavior?
Sure.
That's a extreme success.
Yeah, she doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
Well, I got dishes to do if you don't have any other questions.
Sure. No, thank you. It was very, very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
So I guess we go back to the main house and hopefully meet Bill and Celia.
Hey, did you guys find out anything? We found very little out from the neighbors to the right.
As a matter of fact, apparently, Our dear friend, Mr. Kimball, Douglas, that is, according to the neighbor, would go out from 11 o'clock to midnight into the woods behind the house. And she said that he would just go with different books. You know, he was never there with one book, I think, and would go out in the middle of the woods and then come back. Now, I actually found it kind of strange that she's up at 11 p.m. at night, but she did mention she has insomnia. But that's quite interesting. So there's something about 11 p.m., which is a little bit later on tonight.
That's very interesting.
Just to clarify, she said she'd see him coming back from the woods at 11.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, back from the woods.
Oh, okay.
Well, yes. Which begs the question, when did he go out there?
Exactly. Well, we might, maybe if it's too late to check City Hall or Hall of Records for Edward Kaplan, maybe we should check out a couple of these trails to see where they go. The one that she pointed out that he saw him coming back from. What do you think?
Well, I agree. And I think, but Thomas is going to come back in a couple hours. And I don't know if he wants us to see us back in the house. So we might have to go stealth from here. Especially if you consider the fact that he's coming back at 11 o'clock at night.
Well, realize that it's still about, it's not even 8 o'clock yet. So there's still quite a bit of light out.
Yeah, we probably have a couple hours and light and some light to, now it's probably as good a time as any.
We certainly could go try it.
And you guys
I think we should stay together as a group.
You guys are also not like super workaholics that you spend all 24 hours a day working on a case. It's getting late. But yeah, you've still got some light left.
Yeah, we can check this out and then call it a night and check out maybe Edwin Kaplan's records in the morning.
I definitely want to take my firearm with me if we're going to go out into the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be safe. Could be bears, coyotes out there.
I was just wondering if we knew the area well enough to know that is this a large forest or is this just a forest belt in a resident area?
It's New England, especially Massachusetts, has a lot of forest belts. So it's probably something, if you know that if you went directly north for you would be going through that if you went north for an hour or so, it would start to get hilly, and then it would be pretty dense forest for another few miles before you'd probably come out in one of the other towns, Beverly or something like that. But that's not unusual. And if you guys, we don't really know your backgrounds, or at least I can't remember, but if you were born and raised in Arkham, you probably played out in the woods. It's everywhere.
Well, being a bit nervous, I decide to bring my kerosene lantern and a compass.
Okay.
Splendid. Say we still have some light out. Should we go out, say no more than a half an hour, see what we find, and then come back?
Sounds very reasonable.
All right.
Sounds like a good idea.
So, Pat and Wilbur, did you see the path, the direction that the neighbor indicated?
From what I recall, it was straight out behind the back of the house, but she didn't indicate like a specific path from what I understand. Wilbur, did you pick up on any of that?
No, not really, but she did mention it like there was one path going out of from that direction, so maybe just have a look up there and see what we can find.
Yeah.
Splendid. Let's go.
So you head to the backyard, and the sun is still, there's still quite a bit of light in the sky. The sun is low on the horizon. There's not a lot of leafy foliage yet, so there's still a sky above it. Lots of spidery trees, pointing up to the sky. You can see that there probably is definitely a path. It's a little bit more worn than others. There's not so many brambles or bushes that would be blocking it as you go. And to your surprise, after only about 10 minutes walk, you come out at the St. Clare Cemetery, which is attached to the Catholic Church down the road on Derby. In fact, it doesn't even take you 10 minutes to get there. But it's a New England cemetery. They're all the old graves with the upright crosses and angels weeping, and graves going back probably to the late 1700s, early 1700s even.
I'd like to start looking at the headstones to see if I see anything for Kaplan.
Well, it's starting to get a little darker. You don't find anything. It's a little difficult to read. You've got a lantern, though.
One lantern.
Yeah, there's a lot of graves, and it's not like very regularly laid out. After you look for, well, let's say do a spot hidden, you'll look for a half an hour or.
Okay, I got a 2.
Oh, I won't even bother. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's good.
You don't see anything in particular, but you can tell that parts of the cemetery are not very well kept, that whoever the caretaker is, he's probably not doing a great job of maintaining the cemetery. You can see the church around in the distance, but it's not that far away. There's a dwelling attached to it, which is probably where the priest. It's a Catholic church, so it's the rectory where the priest would live. But by now it's starting to get dark. And it wouldn't be any difficulty to find your way back. It's a fairly straight path going back.
Mm.
It's also getting chilly.
Well, we can't really see too well. We have one lantern. We need.
Also a lot of things you could stumble over.
Yeah, this might not be the best idea to explore here now. No one else happens to have a lantern, do they? Wilbur was the only one to come prepared.
Well, you're right, and I agree. But if he came back at 11 o'clock to midnight, that means that there was something he was interested in, or there was something happening in these woods. And I'm just wondering, since, the only other alternative we have is to go home and then start fresh in the morning, do we want to be at least a bit adventurous to actually find out just what old Douglas was actually up to by poking around a little bit further back here?
Sure. Business has been slow, Pat. I'm ready for a little bit of an adventure.
Well, you do notice that there are lights on in the rectory.
Interesting.
Ooh.
Seeing things? You guys see those lights?
I see them.
I think we should check those out.
All right. So you make your way through the cemetery. There is a low sort of fog rolling in, which is typical this time of year. But as you get to the rectory, the lights are bright inside, smoke coming out of the chimney. You knock on the door, and a short little red-headed priest, looks like he's in his 40s. He answers the door. He says, yes, my sons, what can I do for you?
Father, have you heard or seen anything unusual here in the evenings?
Seen something unusual? What? No, this is a pretty lonely place. My accent's going to change constantly because I can't do an accent.
That's okay.
He says, "Oh no, I don't know what you mean. This is a church and a cemetery."
Are you
Well,
sure?
we have a question about the person that might have been part of your flock, Douglas Kimball.
Douglas Kimball? No, I don't know Douglas Kimball.
No, he would not
Not as a
attend
member of the
service.
congregation. No. But you say unusual things. What are you? You're looking for a scary story or something, yeah?
Sure.
Arkham's full of those, aren't they? Well, I have not seen it myself, but you know, there are lots of stories about cemeteries in the dark. Says, I can't believe grown men like you are interested in that sort of thing. But you know, we've had some odd neighbors making a ruckus, not for quite a while. Old what's his name? The police constable Delbert Freely. He's been here a couple times because neighbors have complained about strange goings on. My guess is it's just the Miskatonic boys playing around doing games.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on those strange going-ons?
Not really. I read them in the newspaper. Actually, I never saw anything myself. Goes way back, you know. But that's Arkham for you. All sorts of strange things going on here. You could talk to the caretaker. He's in the shack over on the end. I'm sure he's still awake.
Oh, thank you.
And what's his name?
That's Melodious Jefferson.
Lawrence Jefferson.
Yeah. He's not such a careful caretaker, if you ask me, but you know, he lives alone, doesn't have much to do.
Has he been working here for a long time?
Melodious has been here for years, yeah. He's been here longer than I have.
Would the name Edward Kaplan ring a bell?
Edward Kaplan doesn't sound like anybody in my congregation. Sounds Jewish, if you ask me.
Do you have any records or registry of the people buried here?
No, of course, yeah. Why, you want to see the burial records? You're looking for somebody in particular?
Oh, just family and yeah, out of interest.
Well, sure, it's a wee bit late tonight, but yeah, I mean, if you come back, you can certainly look through the records. I have no problem with that.
Thank you, Father. I appreciate that.
Any more questions before you let me get back to my food?
Is there a crypt?
A crypt? No.
Or are there crypts? Okay.
No, we don't have anything underground here. Not that I know of. The ground's too porous. It's not very good for digging under there. All right.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
God bless. May God watch over you and to take care of you. Closes the door.
All right, maybe we should try finding this Melodious Jefferson.
Well, he's right around in the shack, right?
Yeah, it's fairly easy. You can see there's a light on in the shack.
Oh.
Let's go see Melodious.
You knock on Melodious's door, and Melodious answers. Melodious is looks like he's maybe in his late 50s, maybe early 60s. He's got a scraggly beard. He's rail thin. And you know, his skin is red and burnt from being in the sun, and his eyes are bloodshot. Yeah. Who are you? What do you want? Don't everybody speak at the same time now. What do you want?
Glorious. Good evening.
My name is Melodious.
Melodious. Pardon me.
Like music, it's melodious.
Melodious. It's a good name. It's a good name.
Why are you on the property so late at night?
We were informed that a little while back, and ever so often, that there were some unusual happenings up here, or maybe gatherings of sorts. Would you know anything about this, perhaps?
You're serious? You come out here in the middle of the night to talk to me about ghosts and ghoulies? What is this? I don't understand. What are you here for? And oh my God, there's 4 of you.
Well, there's a gentleman down the way, not too far from here, who used to come here and frequent this place by the name of Douglas. And we were wondering, had you perhaps seen any of these gatherings or here? We're just trying to find out where he might have gone. His family's a little worried, and we were just trying to help them out.
Bill's talking. There are 3 of you do spot hiddens.
1 second, I've got my dice.
No.
No.
Oh, I missed it.
No.
We all missed.
How badly did you all miss?
I was very bad.
Luck?
I like 94 out of 70.
Yeah, I had 90. I had 91 out of 40.
All right.
I missed it by 11 points, so I can spend some luck on it.
Bill, do a luck roll.
Do a luck roll? You got
Do a
it.
luck roll. Got it.
Luck roll. Ooh, oh. No, that's 60. And my luck, my
Yep,
luck.
got it.
Oh, my
13.
luck's 55.
I got it. I got a 13.
All right. Who got the 13?
Pat.
Okay, Pat. As you're listening there, looking at this old codger, you realize that there's the top of a bottle sticking up out of his pocket on his side. And you're pretty sure from his bloodshot eyes and stuff that he's been drinking a little bit. He says, Douglas, you say, some fella named Douglas. I don't know. Snooping around the cemetery, do you say? No.
I'd like to use can I do a credit rating check to impress upon him how important it is that he answers our questions? Or just give him some money? I can always. I'm also happy to pay him.
I think the pay.
Tell me what you want to do then.
I'm going to use a credit rating and let him tell him that I am the physician, the family's physician, and we're looking for him. We're worried about him, and we just need some information about the area.
Okay, go ahead.
My credit rating is 60. Really? That's an extreme success.
Okay, we'll say that was more of a persuade. Yeah.
I made it still not bad as well. But yeah.
Doctor, huh? A lady doctor. Never heard of such a thing, but okay, you're a lady doctor.
There's at least 3 of us.
I get this pain, in my elbow at night.
I'd be happy to look at that after the questions.
Look, you're wondering about this Douglas fella. I don't know. I didn't know that was his name, but young fella used to come out here. Not so young, maybe. Young to me. He'd come out here and he'd sit on one of the graves over there. I'd say he'd show up maybe around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He'd sit on the grave over there and he'd just read. Sometimes he'd read out loud. I'd hear him talking. I shoot him off once, and then I figured he wasn't doing anybody any harm, so just let him sit there. Strange, odd bird, like to read.
What's the name on the grave?
Well, it's difficult to see this time of night. It's pitch black out there at this point, but I think it's gonna rain. Yeah, it smells like rain. But I don't know. Come back tomorrow. I'll show you what it is. It's just a grave. Used to sit out there. Read.
Do you know the name of on the grave? Do you remember?
Not a clue.
So I have a question for you. You said you noticed him at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but we have a suspicion that he would come here late at night. Have you heard? Do you recall anything happening late at night?
Well, he was here late at night. I don't know how, but he would just stay. He'd just sit there and read. He didn't do it every day, but he did it quite often. I think he liked the peace and quiet. It's quite peaceful and quiet here. It's an old cemetery. People don't come here much anymore. There's not many relatives that are still alive. You know, it's an old part of the cemetery. In fact, he sat over there in the, part that I haven't really done very good maintaining.
Could you give like a ballpark description of him, just roughly? You don't have to give,
You want a ballpark of the young man, or the fella? Well, I keep saying young because I'm old, but I'd say he's probably in his late 40s, maybe early 50s, kind of weathered looking. I'd say he had, brown hair, clean shaven, with books, always books.
This sounds like our man. Maybe. I don't know.
How was he reading out there in the cemetery? Is there? I mean, I can't see over there actually.
You often have a lantern with him. It's kind of an eye strain thing. I don't know. I don't read much myself. What you got there?
This is really pretty good.
That looks like Applejack. Yes, it's prohibition. We're really not supposed to be. Don't tell father. Don't tell Father Kilpatrick. And he helps himself. He says, he used to sit out there and read. Kind of a strange thing. There's all sorts of strange things that go on here in Arkham.
So please tell us a little bit more about some of these strange things. What's the strangest thing you've seen happen?
Well, there was, what was her name? There was that woman. Gosh, that was years ago. Ran up and down the streets, banging on people's doors, said the devil was dancing in the graveyard, and let's see, what was her name?
Penelope?
I don't know any Penelope. Sorry, I just did something on my screen. Her name was Mrs. Ward, crazy old bitch, running up down the street, yelling bloody murder. I think they got the constable out here. That was years ago. I don't think it's the only time she did that either. Most of the neighbors thought she was crazy. Sometimes I don't know. Maybe the boys from the Miskatonic College come over here and just do strange things.
So I was just wondering, because you say Douglas stopped coming to the grave obviously 2 months ago. Has anyone else been at the grave?
No, I haven't seen anybody at the grave for over a year.
Okay, so he stopped coming here a year ago.
Yeah, I haven't seen him for a long time. Surprised I remembered.
In the last year or so, since he's been coming, have you heard anything especially disturbing or crazy? I know you're mentioning it happened years ago, but anything more recently?
I don't know. I'm not easily scared or disturbed by anything. I've never seen the devil dancing in the graveyard, if you ask me that. And you can see that he's starting to fade.
Yeah.
Okay. Just before we go, sir, could you tell us about the father?
Oh, Father Sean, Father Kirkpatrick,
Yeah.
he's a good enough guy, fellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always kind and polite. Gives a good sermon once in a while.
Do you usually attend his sermons?
Yeah, on Sundays. If I don't have stuff to do. But yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with Father Patrick at all.
Thank you.
And you can see that he's really
And let ourselves out.
I'd ask you for a spot of tea, but I don't think I can make tea at this point. All right, you guys let yourself out. And you guys realize you have kind of an option. Since you're over by the church, by the shack, you could either go back through the cemetery and follow the path back to the Kimball house, or you could just walk out onto Darby Street and walk up Darby Street to the Kimball house. Or you could take a cab and go home. But you have the keys.
Yeah, we did mention we dropped the keys off in the mailbox, but he'll be home about
Probably any minute now, actually, by now.
about 11. He mentioned
Probably another hour or two. Yeah, it's still, this didn't take you that long to do.
Well, and there's still the spot, the unkempt spot, potentially as well.
Yeah, we can sort of check it out as we head over there. As we head back, we could go by the grave and the unkept area, just to see what we can.
All right. You head back. It's exactly the same as it was before. You don't know exactly where he was talking about.
We could either come back tomorrow, but I do agree with you, Pat. I like the idea of trying to get the times right, because Douglas was spotted returning around 11. So
Yeah.
it takes
I
about
mean, something happened. Well, it probably didn't take him that long to come back, but that means that something was happening. And then now we hear about this crazy talking about, something about Satan or whatever. So I don't think that these two things are coincidences by any means. So something's happening out there at around 10.
Should we? Well, we've got a little bit of time. We could.
Does anybody have a book to read out loud?
Ooh, interesting. I do have
Very interesting. Oh,
got my journal.
Or recite something?
Honestly, I'm a little bit creeped out by hanging out at the graveyard in the middle of the night, especially with the devil dancing around here.
Let's move the story forward and say that whatever you try, nothing happens that night.
Okay.
Where it remains quiet and dark. Eventually make your way back to your, get a cab, and you all head home. Next morning, you wake up bright and early, and we'll say that you meet back at the office at 9 a.m. You're back in your office.
Oh, good night's sleep. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
morning.
What are your plans for today?
Had breakfast there.
City Hall or Hall of Records or something like that?
Yeah, we need to find out what Edward Kaplan fellow. See what we can find out about him. Would anyone like to come with me?
Sure, I'll come.
Yes, I'll go with you.
All right.
Sure.
Oh.
Was the lady's name that Melodious told us Mrs. Wart or something like that?
Ward. W-A-R-D.
Ward.
Ward. All right. You get to the Hall of Records, and I'm not going to make you roll for it. You look for an Edward Kaplan, and you don't find any Kaplan family registered in Arkham. The Kaplan's a fairly common name in other parts of the country, but you don't find an Eddie Kaplan. Were you going to look into Mrs. Ward?
It's about our only other hope, our other name right now, I think.
Well, let's say over the course of a couple of hours, you find out that a Mrs. Ward lived on Darby Street, just down from the Kemble house, a number of years ago, and that neighbors thought she was kind of crazy. And there were a couple of news articles that came up. You do a little more research, and the first one that you find is this one. Oops, that's not what I wanted to hit. There you go. One of you can read that.
Centric causes ruckus.
Is it small?
Yeah, I can't zoom in, unfortunately.
Let's see if I can.
There we go. That's big. It's big for me.
Mm-hmm.
Local eccentric causes ruckus. April 24th, 1910. Arkham has long been a town haunted by superstition and mountebank claims of witches and ghosts. Last Thursday night was no exception along Derby Street East. Mrs. Hilda Ward has been a resident for the past 37 years, and for the last 20, she is claimed to have witnessed things, terrible things. At approximately 11 p.m., Mrs. Ward ran door to door, wakening her neighbors and crying in the streets. She claimed that the devil's spawn was stalking about the old St. Clare Cemetery, singing hymns to their master, Satan. As neighbors tried to calm her, she described strange men who were not men, naked and hairy, with dog-like features and canine teeth. She said they were tearing something up and feared it might be a person. The constable was called and did a cursory sweep of the area. The only thing he said he noticed was an automobile some distance away traveling along Derby. His conclusion was that it must have been some Miskatonic college boys having a bit of fun, and the case was dropped. As it turns out, according to her neighbors, Mrs. Ward has been reporting these devil spawns on and off for the last 20 years.
Well, maybe we should go see if she's still here.
I agree. Her story may not all be true, but it seems like it might coincide with what Douglas might have been involved with.
Well, if you consider the fact that 11 p.m., I hardly think it's a coincidence that you might have seen him out there as well.
You do find a death record for Mrs. Hilda Ward. She died in her mid-80s about 6 years ago. But you also find another article, or one of you finds the article. Something not, it's still not that recent, but it's more recent than that one. 1912 this time, so 2 years after that. If one of you wants to read that.
Recent sacrilege. Tuesday, June 4th, 1912, Arkham Cemetery. Constable Freely was summoned 2 nights ago by Arkham residents sometime around 3 a.m. with reports of a disturbance in the St. Clare's Cemetery off of Derby Street East. Residents were awakened by strange noises and claimed to have observed a number of people cavorting within the cemetery. One resident claimed they were completely naked. At least 3 residents in separate but nearby locations confirmed the disturbance. When Constable Freely arrived 20 minutes later, all signs of the bacchanal were gone. Freely, who has been our constable for nearly 20 years, said he found no evidence of any activity among the tombstones. Likewise, there was no vandalism. He has asked residents to keep an eye open for any further activity and suggested it might have been a college prank. Okay, this reads.
I'm starting to think that these books that are missing from the Kimball residence are not really missing. Now the question is, Douglas Kimball may not be missing.
May have just moved on to somewhere else. Is Freely still alive or around?
He is still the constable, but he's probably in the last couple of years of his.
Okay.
He's getting old. Deputies do most of the work now.
Well, do we want to go see Constable Freely and ask him? Or do we want to go there during the day and investigate some more?
What are we closer to? Do we where Constable Freely's location or the cemetery? To save time, we should probably hit up what's closest.
It's likely that, well, let's just say we'll say that you do both. So you go by Constable Freely's and you spend a half an hour with him. He doesn't really know what you're talking about. You're talking about something that happened 15 years ago. College boys will be college boys. He backs up whatever the article said. There's always crazy people claiming that there's strange things, climbing mountains and dancing naked in the dark. It's all that witchcraft nonsense.
Do we get any sense that do we get the sense that he believes what he's saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You head back to the Kimball house. I assume that's where you were going?
Yes.
Okay. You meet Thomas there. He's getting ready to go out, but once again, you're free to roam about the house. I would like you to do spot hidden rolls.
53 out of 60.
Fumble.
17 out of 70.
97.
94.
All right. Boy, somebody had terrible rolls. Some of you are trying to find your wristwatch. Those of you who passed almost immediately. When you walk into the library and you figure, maybe there's something else in the library, you almost immediately notice there are at least 4 more books missing. There are
from yesterday
case that are gone. And from an analysis of what you're pretty sure was there, another Victor Hugo is gone, Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas, Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, and A Study in Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle are missing.
I'd like to go back up to his room.
Okay.
Thomas's room. Or not Thomas's room, Douglas's room.
Douglas's room.
What has he left already?
Thomas left.
Thomas, if you want to say something to him, you can say before he leaves.
Yeah. I wanted to say, so Thomas, I'm noticing that there's 4 more books missing. Did you see anything unusual happen here last night when you got back?
No. No, I got home about 11. Of course, I was kind of drunk, but no, I didn't hear nothing.
What do you boys think? Or what do you boys think? Lady?
Well, I'm pulling one of you, whoever is the closest, aside and try to whisper not to let Thomas hear, but I'm asking if we should ask him about this Edward Chaplin fellow.
I don't see why not.
It's worth a shot. I mean,
So are you telling me that somebody got into the house again while I was here?
Well, if you didn't read the books or remove the books, then somebody must have.
No, I didn't even come in here.
Now, you don't think that any friends of your uncle might have a key?
What the hell was that? Is everything okay? Never mind. I'm getting all tense because I'm
Well, your uncle's journal mentioned a friend of his, Eddie, or an Edward Kaplan. Maybe he has a key. Maybe he's grabbing the books.
I don't know anybody named Eddie Kaplan. No. Uncle with friends, I never heard of him having any friends.
No. No romantic relations either to anyone?
My uncle? No, I don't think so. Not that I ever heard about. Not that I was really listening, but
it's not
I just
something
don't like
that
the
he would
idea that
speak of.
somebody's breaking into my house in the middle of the night while I'm here. How are they getting in? Coming through the front door? You guys had the keys. You think they found the keys in the...
Well, unless they got your uncle's keys. He had keys, didn't he?
Yeah, he would have keys.
I'd like to walk up to the uncle's room again.
All right.
And look at things to see if you said there was, I looked around, or I remember saying that there was like a pipe and water. Does the pipe look as if it had been used anytime recently?
Looks like it's in exactly the same condition that it was before. There's dust in the bowl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In the area that it appears that the books were stolen in, is there any dirt, footprints, anything else that seems disturbed?
Do a spot hidden.
Certainly. Oh, darn it. Wait, how close? Okay, I will spend 2 luck to make that.
All right. You're not sure that you would have memorized everything in the office, but yeah, maybe there's some impressions in the carpet that seem like they shouldn't be. They don't look like shoe prints. They're too big for shoe prints. And they're not really clear or distinct, but they're definitely going from the bookcase to the window.
Okay.
So Bill, I guess I'm presuming I'll probably be nearby.
Oh yeah, and I'm
Should we
pointing this out to you.
Should we take out our detective kits and maybe take some samples here? Because remember, when we went to the actual City Hall records, we talked about some humanoids with like some fur or something.
That's right. Maybe there could be some fur samples. I'll start from the window area and take a look what's there.
And I'll take a look at the rug area.
Excellent.
All right. Pat, do a spot hidden for me.
Ugh. 82 on a 70.
Yeah, you don't find, you're pretty sure that that's some sort of an impression, a number of impressions in the carpet that must be fairly recent because the carpet hasn't had time to spring back. But you don't find any hair samples or anything like that. Bill, when you go over to the window, do a spot hidden.
Oh, yeah, totally made that one.
All right. You can see some places on the windowsill itself where the paint has freshly been scraped. And it something suddenly dawns on you as you look at this window. Now, it's a standard window, the kind that you would lift like this. Okay. And on the top of the halfway mark on the window, there's a latch.
Yeah.
And you can see the latch is locked. But it suddenly occurs to you that if you go ahead and attempt to lift the window up, the latch isn't completely nailed into the other window, so it just lifts right up.
Oh my!
And you can see that there are definite scratch marks on the paint, and they're fresh. They're definitely not old scratch marks on the paint.
This is very fresh, guys, and look at this. Yeah, this doesn't look quite right.
Looking at the prints in the carpet, could I do a zoology check to see if there reminds me of any hoofs or something like this?
I'm sorry, you wanted to do what check?
Zoology.
Sure, if you've got zoology.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And it's a hard success.
Okay, good. Well, you get the impression that it has 4 toes.
Like a dog.
Not
Or
5.
something else.
Is it large in size?
Yeah.
Like bigger than a dog?
Not huge, but bigger than a dog.
Like dog times 2.
Like hand size.
Interesting.
At least hand size.
Are the scratches on the outside of the window
They're on
coming in?
Yeah,
They're on the
definitely.
sill.
And this just
But they're
lifts
not.
As if something
they're not on
maybe had hooked the windowsill and foisted itself in.
Interesting. This does seem animal-like. This is starting to match some of these crazy stories that have been reported in the past.
And with 4 new books missing, seems like whether it's Douglas or not, someone's going out there at night and coming back in.
So we can set a trap, but that's not going to guarantee they'll come back tonight. Or we can go to the caretaker, Mr. Melodious Jefferson, and see if he can show us more closely that grave area. What time?
Well, can we follow the trail, or is there a trail?
It's still fairly early.
Is there a trail from the window away from the house?
You'll have to go outside and look, but well, go outside and look.
Certainly,
That's my suggestion. So
I like that. It's not too. It's just around the corner. So I'll pop on out.
Right. You go outside to look. I'll need you to do a tracking roll.
Oh no, tracking. Don't use much of a tracker.
Oh boy.
no.
I'll come out there too and try it. Might as well.
Yeah, that's maybe.
Oh, if I spend 5 luck, I got it.
Go for it.
I'm gonna
Can't
spend
take
5
it
luck
with
into it. What's that?
Said you can't take it with you.
Can't take it with you.
I would
spend 5 luck.
70.
All right. So you the thing that you can see that's sort of the marker that's in your head as you're looking. If it's a dog, you're going to see the 4 pads and you're going to see nails. Okay, that might make an impression. And you think that you see, yeah, there, I think that's one if you look at it from the right angle and so forth. And you can definitely see it's going into the woods on that trail that you walked. Now, quickly can't, the ground is still fairly hard. So you might find impressions here and there that might be going in that direction. But your best bet is that it's following that trail back to the cemetery.
I think we should go, gentlemen and lady.
Let's do it.
Read.
Let's make sure we're prepared. Again, got my firearm kind of
Still about
handy.
11 a.m.
Yeah.
All right. So you go back, and now it's daylight. You go along the cemetery. Let's see. You head along the cemetery, and you find enough tracks that it leads you right to this area. And then it's
Interesting. Here lies the body of Dennis Clark. His last words were, "I told you I was sick, you bastards." 1847 to 1919. Just a few years ago.
But we never heard about this Dennis before.
How about we start to inspect these graves a little bit more closely?
okay.
Maybe one of us can be a lookout. I mean, I don't think that, there's nobody around, is there? That we can look around and see?
No. But you can see the church and you can see the shack from where you are. And this would be the general direction that Melodius would have pointed in.
Should I run over and get Melodius while you guys check here?
Sure.
All right,
If
I'll
you think he's
head
going to
over.
be of any help. Yeah.
All right, those of you who are at the graves do a spot hidden. Melodius, you have to almost rouse him at this point because he's still barely awake.
Made my spot hidden.
I
Yeah,
passed
made it
my
too.
spot hidden.
Okay. You start to notice that there are multiple places in this general area where you see that strange footprint or similar ones.
Is it going in or near any kind of graves themselves, or are they
There's graves
congregating?
everywhere, so it's all around the graves, in between the graves. And
Are there any like disturbed graves or disturbed ground or anything like that?
not that you can see, no.
Are there any mausoleums?
No, not in this cemetery.
And it's still midday, correct?
Correct.
This
Melodius
coat.
comes over and he says, "Yeah, this is the area. He used to sit on these graves, read his books."
You haven't seen any activity out here, kind of recently, do you? Ever
Recently, no.
hear noises out here or something kind of big?
Nah, almost nobody ever comes to the cemetery anymore.
Huh. Very interesting.
Sometimes tourists, they just like to look at the old graves. But yeah, they said his name was Doug. Doug would sit there. And he just points to the grave and he said he'd sit there with his back up against the stone and read. That's all I ever saw him do. He'd read in the afternoon. I'd see him reading until it started to get dark.
Melodius doesn't seem like off or
He seems like he was drunk last night.
just,
Yeah. No, innocent enough. Never did anything. Nothing malicious. Sat there for hours and hours.
Do you know who this person was?
Who,
The one
Doug?
being in the grave.
Who this? I don't have any idea. Looks like Clark. That's the only name that's on here. It's just somebody from the town that died. Looks fairly recent. But you can see, it's grave's all sealed up.
You think it's worthwhile, like pointing out to him the claw marks? Him if this looks familiar, or if he's heard about these stories.
Or you're just asking them if you want to do that.
Yeah, well, I'll go ahead and ask him. Hey, Melodious, take a look at these. Does these look familiar? Have you?
I don't see what you're looking at.
And I point out the actual like claw marks or the specifically like showing.
I don't.
What do you make of this?
I don't see what you're pointing at. It's not like a footprint. Doesn't look anything like a footprint to me. What do you think it is?
Well, that's what I was asking you about. You've been here longer. You've seen a lot of strange things. You've talked about that.
I think it's just a bit of flotsam on the ground that you're mistaken for something that it's not. But doesn't look like a human footprint to me.
I say out of earshot of Melodious that we might want to see what's going on here later tonight. And I don't know if two of us want to be here and two of us want to wait back in the library.
Well, we should probably. So I walk away from Melodious and I come back to Bill and I say, kind of like in a lower breath, I should say, you think we should set a trap at home by the library? Or we should set a trap around the outside of the house or something.
I mean, we certainly split up again if we need to.
Yeah, maybe two of us at home, two of us here. I think one of us by ourselves wouldn't be a good idea. This sounds like they might be up to no good. I'm not sure. It might just be something as simple as book thieves that, do their goofy pranks out here. But these do look like animal claw prints that, these could be a pack of wolves or something, and that's not something you want to run into by yourself.
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned if we're talking about some wild animals. Now you're mentioning a wolf, and I saw the size of the footprint, which was clearly larger than a normal dog, and I'm not sure if it's a good idea to split up for that.
I mean, I can't imagine a pack of wolves sneaking into someone's house and stealing books. I mean, that's like a nursery rhyme, like little Red Riding Hood stuff there.
Well, clearly, especially if they've clawed on the outside of the actual window and they've come into the actual house, this is something more than your average wolf.
Yeah, it might have been a burglar accompanied by his dog, maybe. I don't know. That's kind of far-fetched too, though.
Or a lunatic.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm down to camp out tonight.
All right.
Once and for all.
Let's call it.
Let's do it.
All right. The rest of the afternoon, evening goes. What all are you going to have with you? Describe your equipment. Please don't say Tommy gun.
I have mace and a small revolver.
Okay.
I've 9mm semi-automatic rifle, or not rifle, pistol.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
And a lantern, an extra lantern.
Okay.
Well, I mean, this is my first time being with you in the field like this, but it seems you're all bringing guns. I don't really have a weapon besides an old hunting rifle, but I'm not sure if I want to camp out in the graveyard with my rifle.
I doubt we'd really need these weapons. Just more of a precaution if there is a wolf out here.
But should I be concerned? Because honestly, right now, I'm freaking out a bit.
Wilbur,
Well-
do a sanity roll.
Everyone?
No, just Wilbur. He says he's freaking out.
And I made it.
Okay. Just take 1 point of sanity damage.
All right.
All right. You also mentioned that you were going to possibly set a trap. Did you want to do that? And what sort of trap?
I think we should be outside, right of that windowsill.
I'd like to just fix the window so it doesn't open easily.
Is that what you guys want to do? Make sure the window's locked?
That I can't imagine that. Hopefully that doesn't take too long. And then still do whatever else it is that we want to do outside.
Okay.
I want to bring some alcohol from the kitchen.
Okay.
Good idea. Always a good idea.
And then were you going to split 2 of you at the house and 2 of you where? In the woods, in the cemetery?
I think we were talking about all 4 of us being there, and then if we were going to set a trap, or in this case, lock the windowsill, then we would all just go together, right?
That's fine.
Or, yeah, I suppose. I'm just thinking the trap might not do much.
Yeah.
I mean, if one of us, it's safer to stay in the house. So maybe I wouldn't mind. I'd volunteer to stay there. And the 3 of you, the larger group could be in the cemetery, might be a good idea.
Are you sure you want to stay behind, Bill? We don't know anything about that Thomas guy. And
I can take care of myself. I've been doing it for a while. Besides, it's a wolf. I think a 45 can put that down pretty quick.
okay, well, you mind if we borrow your lantern to go out there?
Certainly.
And I would suggest to Celia and Wilbur that we just, if you have any extra equipment or anything, now is the time to bring it. Maybe some extra kerosene. I don't know if you have any other weapons.
Dynamite.
Dynamite's a good idea.
I have some kerosene and a kerosene lamp, a hunting knife, and yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
So
Well, I got a gun.
I'm still need a clear view of where you guys are.
Okay.
Where are you?
I am with Wilbur and Pat, and I believe that we are all in the cemetery at the
Exactly
overgrown,
the same place that we were earlier in the day.
next to
Bill?
Dennis Clark's thing.
And Bill, where are you?
Me?
Are you also with them?
Oh, I'm heading back to the house.
Okay. So you're going to be outside the house?
I'm gonna sort of hide inside the house and just sort of be in a dark corner observing that library area. And I'll stay quiet.
All right. So you guys are all in the dark. It's getting foggy. It's chilly. Right around 10 o'clock at night, Bill, you are aware that Thomas has gone to bed. He also went out that evening for dinner elsewhere. Obviously, he's not cooking for himself. He probably doesn't know how. But he comes back. He doesn't even notice you. You clear it with him that you're going to be there. He heads up the stairs, goes to bed, So right around 10:30, well, right around 10 o'clock, his lights go out upstairs, and you have no lights on downstairs. You sit there in the dark for quite a while, and nothing happens. Right about 11 o'clock, the other three are hiding near the grave in the dark, maybe behind tombstones to keep them between you, and you have your lights extinguished. There's a little bit of moonlight eating its way through the fog. You hear a noise. It sounds like stone scraping on stone. I want y'all to do, the three of you, to do spot hidden rolls.
Good. God, no one's
Not for me.
09
That's really good.
out of 70. Yep.
Pat, you're staring intently, and you probably immediately like grasp the arms of the other two and indicate not the grave that you were looking at that day, but the one next to it, the big stone slab on top of it. You can see it slowly sliding to the side, and it moves maybe 4 inches or so, and something reaches out and grabs a hold of the slab, something with long claw-like fingers, and then rather effortlessly shoves it over to the side and then begins to climb out of the grave. And it looks like somewhat like a human, but exaggerated. It's taller and thinner and almost looks emaciated. Its chest is larger, more dog-like the way it's shaped. Its hind legs bend backwards, and you can see that it's standing on its, almost looks like it's on its tiptoes, so that its 4 toes touch the ground, and its big toe is lifted up and moved backwards like a dog. It climbs out of the grave. It looks around. You can see it look around. It doesn't seem to see you, and then it starts to move down the path towards the house. What do you?
Oh boy!
I'd like
So
to
I think at this.
roll.
What's that?
You can do sanity rolls for seeing that.
Okay. All right.
Failure?
I made mine.
just on the dot. 85 out of 85.
Made mine.
You all passed?
No, I failed.
Okay. I would like those who passed to take 2 points of damage. And Wilbur, I would like you to roll a 1d4 plus 1.
Right. So 2.
Okay, that's good. You take 2 points.
1 point of damage or 2 points of damage or 2 points of
Sanity damage.
2 points of sanity damage. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And in this game, if you take 5 sanity damage or more in a single hit, then you're not able to control your reaction. You scream out loud or whatever. So you're all able to control your reaction. But you see this thing sort of loping. It stays on 2 feet, but it still has a kind of dog-like lope to it. And it seems to move faster than walking, but it's moving towards the house. What do you
So what do you guys, I just quickly, like in a very low whisper, shall we follow?
I mean, Bill is there. We need to warn him somehow.
But we can't really warn him. I think we should follow it from a distance.
Yeah, but he's alone there. I mean, did you see that thing? What is even
Well,
that?
yeah. Well, yeah, and it's going down the path. Let's go. Let's just stay back a little.
That way we can help him if needed. At least.
Well, maybe if maybe he's in too much trouble. Maybe we should go home.
All right. So I turn to Celia and I go, let's go.
I'm ready to go. I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Like Wilbur, you're free to go.
No, I don't want to be alone.
All right.
And I tell Celia and Wilbur both to have a weapon drawn.
I pull out my revolver from my purse.
Yeah. And
I
I've got
only
my
have a
gun.
hunting knife.
I can hand him my mace, I guess.
You watch the thing, and it moves rather determinedly towards the house. It gets to the edge of the backyard, and you see it stop for a moment, and it looks back and forth, looks at the neighbors' houses. And it then moves forward to the windowsill, so where the window is. And you see it's tall. It's taller than a normal human. You see that it sort of tries to lift the windowsill, and it's not lifting. And you see it sort of try to brace itself, get better leverage on the window, push. And then it stops and it looks side to side, sniffs the air. And then it starts to very carefully make its way towards the front door, around the side, avoiding the street lamp, avoiding looking to see if anybody is watching. And then it quickly makes sort of a little dash up onto the front porch. Bill, do a listen roll.
$23, pass.
You are sitting there in the living room looking towards the library. You can see the window, the library, and for a moment you thought you saw something at the window, but you're not sure. You stayed really quiet and you're listening, and now suddenly you hear something, and it sounds like there's something on the front porch. It's quiet, it's soft. Suddenly you hear the latch, the door start to turn very quietly. You can sort of see it in the light coming through the window just from the street light. You can see the latch turn and the door starts to open. And what comes through it looks like it's standing about 8 feet tall. It has a hunkered down. It has a dog-like face. And for just a moment in the light of the street light, which does hit it a little bit, you see a recognition. It looks like a dog, but it also looks a lot like the picture that you saw of Douglas.
Dear God.
Oh, did you say that out loud?
I should probably roll to see if I can say that out loud. Do I sand check?
Yeah, do a sand check. You can also see
Oh.
that it has big canine teeth and it has claws. And
16.
right. You managed to naturally just freeze. And the thing immediately seems to know that there's no lights on in the house, so it very quickly moves into the door and closes it in a very, very human sort of way to make sure it doesn't make any noise. You can see it look up like it's listening to see if Thomas is awake, and it very carefully, it walks right past you, not noticing you in the chair, and goes into the library. What do you do?
Raise my 45 and I reach over to the lights and I flick them on, saying, "Stop. Right there."
Okay. The phone rings.
Very true.
Hold on just a second. 8:41. Sorry it's gone so long.
Oh, no, this is great.
Let's wait until Pat's back because we're at the climax, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's gonna be Doug.
I'm here.
All right. You do that just as the thing is grabbing a couple of books. The lights come on, and you see the thing immediately look around, and it looks right at you. And when it does, you're looking into Douglas's face, but Douglas's face transformed into a dog-like sort of thing. There's large canines. He's covered in hair. He's covered in mold and gray dirt, and he has extremely long, prodigious claws. And he sees you, and it's almost as if for a moment he doesn't know what to do, but he growls
Douglas.
and slams the door with him inside the library and you outside. So the doors just suddenly come slamming in your face.
Oh.
And the
Douglas.
rest of you are outside.
Yeah, we come in. Like I want to come in with my gun drawn and open the door and like really kind of like looking ready to kind of like fire.
So you're going around and going in the front door.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay back kind of towards the outside of the yard, thinking that I'm safer because I'm a medical consultant. I don't get paid for combat.
Side of the yard, or are you still in the backyard?
I'm going to be a little bit in the back because I understand meta-wise, I know that's probably not awesome, but character-wise, I think I probably would say, you know what, backyard's fine. They went around front. I'm just going to stay out of the way.
And Wilbur, where are you?
I've been pushed so far beyond my comfort zone right now, and I also want to impress my fellow investigators. So I will definitely regret it. But I pulled the knife and I ran to the path that goes back to the graveyard.
Oh, so you're heading for the
to the backside.
So you see him take off. You think, where the hell is he going? Whatever. Pat, you burst through the front door and you find Bill standing there with his gun pointing it at the door to the library. Bill, I would like you to do a sanity roll when the door suddenly swings open outside.
Ooh,
Sorry, Bill.
58. Sanity 58. Oh, I pass. Nicely.
You jump, you take maybe a point of sanity damage from Pat scaring you. Celia, you're outside. You suddenly notice the window on the back of the house. It rattles for a second, and then you see it go up. So something on the inside has unlocked it, and
Scream.
rambling out the window is the creature. It comes head first. It's got one hand on the windowsill as it's coming out, and it has at least 3 books in its hand, and it drops to the ground and immediately begins to lope down the path right towards where Wilbur was running.
I give immediate chase.
Me too.
Do I recognize it as Doug?
It's dark where you are, so you really can't see.
So I just see a shape.
But Bill and Pat, you guys are in the front room and the door to the library closed. You heard rattling, and if you open the door, you see it leaping out the window.
All right.
So you have to run back through the house around to get out.
I'll head out the window. That window's not, how far off the ground did you say it was? Just like 4?
No, like 10 feet.
Oh, geez. Okay, yeah, out the front door then.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's both go. So I'll go with you, Bill.
Got it.
Wilbur, you are running down the path towards the towards the graveyard. What's your intention? Where are you going to go?
I was planning to go back to the grave,
Okay.
but at this point, I'm not really sure what I'm doing because I've been pushed quite far. I'm still sane, but this is really, really uncomfortable to me. At the same time, I also want to impress my colleagues by doing something that is relevant. So I'm really in a desperate state right now.
Okay. So you're near the grave.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Celia, what are you doing? You just saw this thing run towards where Wilbur just ran. What are you going to do? I.e., are you going to give chase, or are you going to stay where you are, or move back to Michigan?
I will slowly and carefully follow along.
Okay.
I'm not trying to keep up with it, but I am trying to go along the same path.
You get about to the back end of the garden where the path starts through the woods, and you suddenly hear the thumping noise on the ground coming up behind you, and you swing around to see Bill and Pat running at you, or running at the path, but it scares the crap out of you. You can do a sanity roll. And Bill and Pat, you run past Celia, who's going.
I'm fluttering.
You can take 1 point of damage for that, for the sanity damage. All right, so you guys are running down. Wilbur, you're just about to the grave, and you're wondering where you're going to go when you hear a loping noise coming down the path towards you. And as you look back, you can see something's glowing eyes coming down the path right in your direction, running. What do
I
you
flip
do?
around and I shine my kerosene light directly at what's coming, and I shout out, "Who are you?"
All right. What you see is coming into the cemetery is the thing, the creature. It lopes forward, it looks up, it sees you with its glowing eyes. You hold up your lantern, and it puts its eyes like that for a moment. And it keeps moving towards you to some extent, and you hear a voice come from it that says, "Get out of my way."
Oh, this is really too much for me. I just freeze.
Okay. You freeze, and the thing moves towards you, and one hand holding books, the other hand sort of shoves you out of the way. And it does it with a great deal of strength, but not forcefully. It doesn't throw you on the ground or anything like that. It just moves you out of the way. The smell is awful. It smells like an open grave. And you feel like you've been polluted just by having it push itself against you as it goes by. But it goes for that same grave, which is open. And you see it stand there and hesitate for a moment as Bill and Pat and Celia enter the cemetery. And the thing is standing there, and you see it drop them into the grave. And it's hesitating. It's standing there with one hand on the grave, as if it's prepared to dive in, but it's not. It's waiting for you.
Douglas?
Douglas? I was going to do the same thing. What the same time?
So you've guessed.
What happened to you?
I don't know how much you know, but I was Douglas Kimball. I met someone. Sitting here in the graveyard reading. I sat here last year. sat on that grave right there, and he points to the one that you guys have been looking at. He says, I was sitting there reading. I did it a lot. I read all of the great works, read them out loud because I liked the sound of the words. Some of the words were so beautiful. And one night, as I sat there reading, I found out that there was somebody listening, somebody sitting right here on this grave. Eddie Kaplan. He says Eddie was not like another person. He was like what I am now. He says Eddie was born in New York in the late 1700s, and he supposedly died in the mid 1800s. Says, but he didn't die, just like I didn't die. He's what they call in literature a ghoul, an eater of the dead. And despite what you might think, he was really a nice guy. And we got to be friends. And he finally convinced me to join him in his world under the ground. But I like to read. And everything was fine for about a year. We traveled, we did things, but I just wanted to get some of my books. See, we're closing up this entrance. It's going to be closed. And I just wanted some of my books to read. You can tell Thomas, don't tell him anything about this. Let him think that I'm dead. Let him have the house. Let him have everything in it. I don't care. He says, but don't tell him this would bring shame on my family.
Is there anything you need?
No, I have everything I need.
Is there no coming back to being human?
Why would I want
Do
to
you
come
want
back?
to?
I'm very happy the way I am.
Are you hurting people?
Why would I hurt anybody? Nobody found out. I don't know how you figured it out.
Oh, you pushed me.
I didn't mean to hurt you if I did. You were in my way. I told you to get out of my way. Now I gotta go. Don't look for me. He moves back and he sort of slinks into the grave, and you see the whole thing sort of slide over. He's gone. You can all do sanity rolls. Sanity.
Oh no, fail.
Made that one.
82 made it.
Made it.
Yeah.
If
Fail.
you made it 1d4. If you failed, 1d6.
Oh, okay. Oh, 6. Oh, no.
One.
So
One.
The talking ghoul, huh? 3. Ouch.
Yeah, I'm not sitting well with the talking ghoul. 6.
So 3 of you are shaken, disturbed, frightened, terrified. Bill just starts screaming. Yeah, you didn't lose that much sanity.
Okay. Ah!
Just starts making a ruckus. Probably the priest comes, the caretaker comes, and that's the end of the story. So you pretty much got the whole gist of the story.
Yeah.
He met himself a Goyle friend. All right. We went a lot overboard. That's okay. Let me go ahead and end the story. We can talk. Where did it go? Our players included Harish Rao, Stuart Lipley, Matthew Corley, and Magnet Bonecall. with myself as the keeper of the secrets. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The costs involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 to a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.